Writing a book is a doorway and an opening, and we are still part of 1% of the populations that so many people want to do it, they don't actually do it. And it was an immediate realization that, okay, I'm not just going to write a book and be a bestseller. I'm going to have to work for that and establish myself and make myself credible. Well, I'm already credible because the book gives authors credibility. Whether you're doing it for a business or you're like you and you're a full-time author, your book is credibility. Well, to be credible, you have to have visibility.
Welcome to the Stark Reflections on Writing and Publishing podcast. There has never been a better time for writers. More information, options, and opportunities are available to you, but navigating these requires insight. Join Mark Leslie Lefebvre as he draws upon more than a quarter century of experience as a writer, a bookseller, and a trusted book industry consultant to explore and reflect on the writing and publishing landscape to help you make informed choices on your writer journey.
Hello, Reflectives, and welcome to episode 486 of the Stark Reflections podcast. This is your host, Mark Leslie Lefebvre. In today's episode, I have an interview with Melissa Heathers, the author of Dear Ego, Dear Heart, and the host of the forthcoming The Book Crawl Show. Now, we talk about her writing, we talk about the show, and so much more. And that's coming up later in this episode. But first, let's hear a word about this episode's sponsors. This episode is partially sponsored by my affiliate link to manuscriptreport.com. This is a marketing tool that you can use based on content specifically from your own book or books. What you do is you load your manuscript in PDF format, and then within about half an hour, you will get back a report. 30-odd page report that's going to have tropes, it's going to have themes, it's going to have some keyword suggestions for how you position this in the marketplace. And speaking of positioning it in the marketplace, it'll give you comp authors and comp titles, not just telling you how your book is similar to these comp titles and comp authors, but how your book is unique and different. It will break down different readers and audiences, a bit about their demographics, as well as pitches that could work to make that book appeal to those readers, as well as some sales copy that you can use to help refine your marketing approach for your book. Manuscript Report takes your manuscript, uses what you wrote, and helps generate some really valuable things like a basic synopsis, a high-level synopsis, of course, and sales copy and things that you can use to better market your book. It can save you time so you can get back to what's the most important thing, or at least the thing we tend to enjoy the most, the writing of your book. And if you want to save 10% with Manuscript Report, you can use my affiliate code, MARK10, that's MARK10, at manuscriptreport.com. Okay, so there will not be comments read in this particular episode, and very brief personal update. This is an extremely busy time right now. The next few weeks are insane. As I'm recording this in the middle of Liz and I recording bits for the cold open that we do for the Aurora Awards, the 2026 Aurora Awards, which we are hosting on Sunday, August 9th at 5 p.m. Eastern. I'll have a link to the YouTube in the show notes. What this is the Canadian Science Fiction and Fantasy Association, or KISFA, has been running the Aurora Awards for a long time, for decades now. And, since 2020, I started hosting, and then Liz joined me as I returned to hosting in 2022. And we do this virtually now. It used to be done in person, but we do it virtually because then people can participate and watch from wherever they are in the world. We were even able to induct Cory Doctorow into the Hall of Fame a few years ago, and from his home in California. So it didn't require somebody having to physically be in a space. So it's all done as a live stream with interaction and people watching live and commenting, and we have the ability to pop those comments up on screen. We do have the green room, so as Liz and I have the sealed envelopes and we read off who is receiving the award in that category. If the person's there to accept it live, we pop them up on the screen. They do their acceptance speech. Some folks have sent pre-recorded videos in case they win, or even pre-recorded, hey, here's what I can't be there. Here's text for you to read. And we have the introductions to the awards recorded by, previous year's winners and other luminaries in the industry who do the introductions and introduce who the nominees are. It is a fantastic celebration of Canadian science fiction, fantasy, and horror. Liz and I are honored that we get to be part of celebrating excellence in the speculative realm for Canada. And we always have a really fun time hosting. I do wear my tux for it. And we try to make it like a broadcast of an award show, including that cold open that we do just prior to the opening title sequence. It's usually a short, humorous sketch, maybe a minute to 3 minutes maximum. And we've played upon the fact that we were getting married one year. We played upon last year, we did a musical parody. We did a parody of If I Had $1 Million by Bare Naked Ladies, but we sang it as If I Won This Year's Aurora, because Liz and I had been nominated for an Aurora in Best Other category for hosting the award way back in the day. And I thought it would be kind of fun, like, wow, what if we had won? What would it be like? And so it was this sequence where we're imagining winning the award. Well, we recorded some bits for the cold open already today. We'll be doing a little bit more of it. I got so much going on. Shortly after this evening, I'm picking up Kevin Anderson from the airport in Toronto. He's going to stay with us for a night, and then I'm going back in the morning to Toronto with Kevin, where we're going to be attending RushCon. I'm going to be helping him with selling some of the books that he has, and we will be attending the Rush concert on Friday night, and then we'll be doing more RushCon on Saturday. And then there's a Rush cruise in the harbor in Toronto. And then I come back late Saturday, and I will be home Sunday, where Liz and I do the final prep for the Auroras. And then actually that Sunday night, after, just as the Auroras are finishing off, some friends of mine from hometown that I grew up with are coming to hang out to stay with us. And I think Liz is going to be planning on going off, going to visit a cousin, and letting the nerds have the house, and then we're going to go with my buddies from high school. We're going to go see Rush again on Tuesday night, and then as they're leaving and departing later in the week, I'm going to be flying out to Calgary, where I'm going to be attending When Words Collide. I am a few things that I'm. It's always a great conference, amazing people I get to hang out with, but a couple things. Rob Sawyer and I will be doing a presentation together on longevity in publishing, because both Rob and I have been around for a long time. Now, he's been published a lot longer than I have, but been working in the industry almost the same amount of time, just a few years behind him. But he is a great guy, and it's going to be fantastic to do that with him. And then I'm also attending Kevin McDonald, one of the kids in the hall, is one of the guests of honor at When Words Collide this year. And I've paid a little bit extra to go into a workshop with Kevin on sketch writing, comedy sketch writing, because Kids in the Hall, phenomenal, Lauren Michaels' group from Canada. I'm just so excited that I get to learn. And again, it's a reminder to us as writers that we never stop learning. We never stop learning about the business of writing. We never stop learning about the craft of writing. I took a horror course from Dean Wesley Smith years ago. And from that horror writing course, and again, I've been writing horror for most of my life, but I'd never taken an official course. I took that course with Dean. It was fantastic. I learned so much. One of the stories I wrote in that workshop is one of the later stories I've wrote that I'm so proud of. And I just recently adapted that story. The story is The Exquisite Taste of a Book-Aged Skull, and I do have the audiobook available for free on YouTube if you want to listen to that. But I did just recently adapt that into a novella that is currently being shopped around by an agent. I'll talk more about that later in another episode probably. But that is an example of why I'm so excited about the sketch writing. Yes, I've been writing comedy sketches since high school. I used to do that all the time for school assemblies and things like that. Liz and I have been doing that sort of thing almost since we met. I've loved doing sketch comedy. But again, I've never taken an official course from somebody awesome like Kevin McDonald. So that's going to be happening at When Words Collide. And then, ironically, so I get back from When Words Collide, and the very next day, Liz and I are flying off to St. John's, Newfoundland, a province we have never been to. We are so looking forward to visiting this beautiful part of our country. We've seen pictures and heard so much from friends about this. We'll be doing some hiking. We'll be checking out obviously the landscape and the puffins and the culture and the people, which, I just love Eastern Canada. I just love the culture there. It's very much like, Ireland, and it's got sort of that essence that at least reminded me when I was in Ireland of those parts of Canada in some ways, for obvious reasons, people coming from Europe to Canada and settling in Canada, but the landscape, the breweries, all those things. And so I'm not even sure what next week's episode and the week after is going to be, if it may be solo episodes or not. We'll see what happens. But as it stands, lots going on. I wanted to get this recorded so I can get some more chores done. And so now I'm done with the opening stuff. I'm going to roll the bumper and we can get into this fantastic conversation that I had just a month or so ago with Melissa Heathers. Hey, Melissa, welcome to the Stark Reflections podcast.
Thank you, Mark, for having me. I'm super excited to be here today.
It's great to have you here. Let's first get into, before we talk about the topics at hand, let's get into your background as a writer, creator, as a personality.
Media personality that I didn't know I had. Yeah, so my journey started in authorship about, I published my first book December 24th, 2024.
Okay.
I self-published it. I did it all. I had somebody do my cover, but self-publishing is a beast in its own, but I did
Yeah.
it, and it was a Christmas gift to myself. And really, like when I wrote my book, Dear Ego, Dear Heart, it was a healing journey for myself. And I had to be in that version of myself to write this book.
Right.
So once I published it, I was like, oh, like the power of words, they can really heal people from a fiction or nonfiction perspective. And I was like, well, authors are thought leaders too. And what do I do to make this book visible? Because regardless of whatever publishing path you take, traditional, hybrid, indie, self, the marketing's on you. And I always say this to everyone. If you knew me a couple of years ago, I'm this outgoing introvert. My social media didn't look the way it does today because I had to start marketing my book. And then it gained momentum with some, radios and lives and podcasts and those type of things. Yeah, so that's kind of the history of my publishing and my book, my
Okay,
authorship.
so this was something you said it was your Christmas gift to yourself in 2024. What
Yeah,
was so the book itself it talks about like inner conversation, the war within, the duality.
yeah.
Um, what was the inciting incident for wanting to write this book, and how far back did it go? Was it like somewhere between 2020 and 2024?
Oh, I love it. That's a great question. So I always knew I wanted to be an author. I actually had a history teacher tell me, don't go to university. You cannot write an essay, but you're very good at poetry and metaphorical kind of language. And then I knew that I could write from a metaphorical introspective because I had to do a couple of eulogies to my parents. They're both deceased. And everybody was like, that was so beautiful. It was so metaphoric for their life. So when I started writing my book, Dear Ego, Dear Heart, I wasn't in the right version of myself.
Right.
And I had to have transcendence. And that transcendence came from a car accident where I almost went blind and I had a brain injury. And that ended my marriage because when those things, those darknesses happen to you, you change literally, neurologically and, emotionally. And so after my marriage ended, that's kind of when my ascendance and mindfulness and reflection came in, and I always had enough money because I was a single mom, freshly divorced, to buy a book. And so I would go to Indigo with my little bit of extra money and buy a book. And the first book that I bought was The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. And it was really like my aha, okay, I understand myself and how do I gravitate towards that and being mindful and observing what's going on for me. So once that kind of happened, then I started writing my book. And I started writing it originally like a biography, or I was going to do a memoir, and I just wasn't ready to write like that. So I switched it to poetry and really understood like duality and those inner conversations that we have between our head and our heart. I
Right.
always say awareness is key. I wasn't aware that was going on to me until I found a book. And that's why I'm so passionate about books and writing about duality in a metaphor form. I am going to take a stab at a memoir, a series of memoirs started. But yeah, so
So I'm curious. So the duality, obviously, ego and heart, but also even in the positioning of the book, it is, as you've decided, it was easier to share this in poetry, but it's a poetry book. It's a self-help book, but it's also spirituality. So is
yeah.
a triality? What's the right word for
I
that?
don't, I like that word try. Is that
I just made
actually
it
a
up.
word? Okay, that's your new
But
word
I
now.
mean, so
I'm
let's
gonna
talk about, writing that in order to obviously self-heal, but obviously it's going to help other people self-heal. There was something that drew you towards, I think I can do this in poetry rather than in this other
yeah.
form. Was there a conscious thought there, or did it was just like did the muse just whisper in your ear and guide you that way? How did that happen?
So I actually started writing the biography,
Okay.
and I took a course by Matt Rudolph, I believe his name, and it was about making your book niche.
Okay.
And then I was like, okay, so I pivoted and I'm like, I can write. I see the world metaphorically. I
Right.
get my downloads. That's why it took me 4 years to write it,
Yeah.
because I would go and see a sunset and it would trigger something inside of me of how I see the world.
Yeah.
And so when I took that course and I'm like, I'm stronger this way. And it was a little bit of a safer, when you're an author, you're vulnerable, especially writing a biography or a memoir, you're vulnerable. And I just kind of grasped to duality and the power of that. So I wanted it to be niche and different and show people. You're human. We all have these conversations and inner conflicts within ourselves, and
Yeah.
that's normal. And this is what it looks like for me, might look different for you, if that makes sense.
No, that I love that. In looking at the reviews that people have left for this book, they use terms like relatable, like there's a lot of relatability in this, that there's a raw honesty, and there's a lot obviously of talk about it's a conflict, but it's also a dance
Yeah.
between the
Yeah.
ego and the heart. So for writers that are listening to this, I imagine as a writer yourself, there's a parallel between that internal struggle and probably what you face as a writer too, right?
Yeah, there's definitely a parallel of it, because when you're writing a biography versus poetry or writing metaphorically, the confidence is a confidence factor too. I struggled with the inner demons or the inner voices of like, who are you to write a biography? Nobody knows you. Like, how would this help people?
Right.
So there was definitely a parallel in the writing journey while I was still kind of transcending and ascending. So,
Okay, cool. So you
yeah.
had mentioned, putting this book out and then, recognizing obviously no matter how you publish a book, there's that additional factor of, okay, the book's in the world now.
Hmm.
How are the right people going to find it? And that kind of leads to that whole visibility factor that you've done a lot with in the last several years.
Yeah, a lot. I never envisioned that writing a book is a doorway and an opening. And we are still part of 1% of the populations that so many people want to do it, they don't actually do it. And it was an immediate realization that, okay, I'm not just going to write a book and be a bestseller. I'm going to have to work for that and establish myself and make myself credible. Well, I'm already credible because the book gives authors credibility, whether you're doing it for a business or you're like you and you're a full-time author, your book is credibility. Well, to be credible, you have to have visibility. And so I really had to get out of my own mind and that own, inner conflict of like, well, now I have to put this book in the world. And it felt so selfish and so strange for me to be like, oh, hey, here's my book, here's me, because that innately is not who I am, but it's just part of the gig. And I love authorship. I want to be like you one day and become a full-time author and step out of my corporate career and do that and pursue that. But you have to have these steps first. And unfortunately, just making yourself visible is part of it. And it's very lacking in the author's world. So that's kind of how I ventured down to this whole visibility and what I'm doing now.
So you're doing this bookish world of things, which
Yeah.
is quite a heavy load for
Yeah.
anyone, but you're also working full time in an unrelated profession?
Yes. Yes.
Wow. Okay. So
Yeah.
how do you, when you're looking at your calendar and the things you want to accomplish as an artist, as a creator, how do you either schedule or organize making time for the writing and the creativity and that whole giant amount of work that you do related to books and authorship and stuff like that?
Oh, that's a really good question. At first, it was a lot because sometimes when we're creatives or visionaries or authors or artists, bringing into the business component, the left side with the right side is really, really hard. And, when it's happening, things are just like being thrown at you, and you're like, oh my gosh. So I really had to sit down and strategize, uh, for one. And I have my Sundays where I'm like, okay, this is my meeting. This is when I work here. Here's my obligations, and strategize around that part of it. Yeah, it's really just strategy and then the transition because I still want to write. And sometimes my writing gets neglected in serving other authors and helping make them visible. But it's important to me. So recently I just decided from my day job to my business, I will have that period of time right after work from 4 to 5, which is very hard for me because I write off downloads. So I'll have a download from the outside world and then I bring it to my inner world. But I'm just doing it. So from like usually 5 to 6, I'm writing and then I transition into my business. So
Okay, so there's like this in between part or this in between element that you
yes,
leverage. Okay, like airlocks maybe.
yes, yes, perfect. Well said.
Okay, so you are the executive producer and you're the host of the book crawl.
Correct.
Can you tell us like so? I mean, when I was like, "Wow, that sounds awesome!" So what is the book crawl and how did that first start?
So it started after I made myself visible with my books. So that there's the book, there's the visibility, putting yourself out in the world. From that, you're doing podcasts, you're meeting people, you're networking in a whole new world that you're like, whoa, I didn't even know that existed. And the door opens for you. So I got involved with a women's network and started doing speeches, co-authored in an anthology. And in the meantime, the founder, Deb Drummond, she bought a channel. It's called the Women's Channel. So we have amazing opportunities through that network. We've gone to Oscars and Emmys, gifting lounges for celebrities. And while we were there, she was like, "Are you interested in owning your own channel?" And I was like, "No, not really." The only thing that sparks my interest is the ability to give authors visibility. And there's, I don't know of any other TV. I'm sure there is somewhere in the world. I don't know of any TV channels, so that would be a great opportunity for them to expand. So we agreed, and then I started creating. Originally, I wanted it to be called The Bookmark, and I was going to bookmark authors. And Reese Witherspoon had just come out with a podcast called that, so I can go down that avenue. So it was a hard pivot again. And then the book crawl came to be, and I just seen the infinite opportunity in that. Because not only do the authors get a televised interview airing on 4 channels under Easy Way, further distribution to mainstream distribution is in the works. I'm also crafting and promoting their work. I've gone to New York, I've interviewed 6 authors there, I've done book crawls, like a pub crawl
Yeah.
in LA, like all over, like all over. So
So
I
how does that work then in terms of, I mean, wow, having to travel to New York and Los Angeles for this on top of working full time, or is that something that you're able to incorporate because in my previous lives, the sometimes the day job would take me to a place where while I'm there I can do the other thing. Is that how that works, or is that something you
uh,
had to negotiate?
Not really. I try to do it over long weekends.
Okay.
Weekends and my authors on the first season of the show, which is full, and I'm booking into the second season. They've been incredible. So I've been fortunate to have such great connection with them. A couple are local here in Ontario and one even in Kitchener. Um, they host me. And they all just get along. Like their synergy is magic in what they're producing, and they've been incredibly supportive to get this launched and up and going. So yeah, it's just strategy. Okay, when can I take one day off and get 4 full days out of it? So
Okay, cool. So walk me through an episode or the structure of what someone would see when they're watching an episode of the book crawl.
So for this year, the streaming service is it's kind of like a Zoom call, but it's very finely crafted for distribution on television. So
Okay,
it'll work like a podcast, but there's intros, there's outros, there's commercials if you're an author and you want to have a commercial. That is all accessible and available through the television distribution. So the difference between a podcast and a television podcast series is that the distribution. So my show
okay,
will be airing on the Women's Channel, Kate Linder TV, Bill Dukes TV, National Biz TV, and Easy Way TV. Hopefully, mainstream distribution. So we're just about to pitch that, and we're looking into that. And that's first year. So you get that part of it where your distribution is heavy, heavy, heavy. But then, like, I'm also doing the social media stuff and I'm making reels and clips and giving them visibility from that end. It's
right,
not something that I had to do or was even suggested to do. I want to do that for
right.
authors. I want to make them visible on everything available to me. And so next year, though, I'm hoping to have my own studio and bring authors here
Right.
and host them and do it in the studio. I might even be able to rent a studio from somebody I know. I'm currently looking into that. But
Right. So
yeah.
I guess I'm curious about the all the production aspects. I mean, is that software or things you had to learn yourself, or was that leveraging people from the community that you knew who could do this particular aspect of the show, or that, the this intro and etc.
That's super fascinating. And like my neural pathways are like, oh my God, what's happening? okay, I'm a producer. I have to get this produced, right? So with the Easy Way distribution, they have a production team, but that doesn't just mean like the production team, they work with you to
Right.
get it. So we just got the intro done. And then it will be distributed through StreamYard, which is really magical. But
Mhm.
that's all stuff I had to learn
Right.
and will still be learning because it is not easy to be in an interview but also being the technician behind the scene, doing the transitions, doing the
Yeah,
commercials.
having
I'm
done
like,
that, yes, I understand that. There's
oh,
usually it's best done with a few people pulling the strings while you're
yeah,
hosting.
yeah,
So, yeah,
yes. I'm looking into a technician. I've been
yeah,
talking to a few. I know that I could do it, but it's not, I want to be present with the authors. It's
yeah.
not
And
something
I
I'm
know
doing.
someone who locally here who's really good at that, by the way.
Perfect.
Looking for
Hook
someone.
me
Yeah.
up. Hook me up.
So, is season one available for people to watch? Like people can go and find it, or is that something that's in coming out? Like it's gonna be, out soon?
It will be out soon. So I'm
Okay.
just getting through an author summit happening this Thursday.
Yes.
And then the recording's going to start. And I'll probably record all 12 authors, like very
Right.
short time frame, and
Right.
then get it all through production. And yeah, so I'm imagining it will start airing within a couple months,
Okay.
1 to 2 months. Yeah, it's still in production. I literally just got my intro done the other day. So
Well, what
yeah,
I may do is with this interview, since I don't actually get the episodes out right away, I may hold and wait till
absolutely.
I get a note from you that it's live so we can
Yeah,
include some links, etc. That might be exciting. So,
it's
so
exciting.
you're looking, for example, you'd mentioned commercials, and so authors are always about, okay, how do I advertise my books? How do I use Amazon ads? How do I use Facebook ads and BookBub ads and all the things like that? If somebody were interested in say, oh, I have a product or a book or something that would be interesting to this audience.
Mhm.
For example, if I wanted to advertise the Stark Reflections on Writing and Publishing podcast because it's for writers and that's the audience, is it, I mean, how does somebody approach to find out what it would cost for advertising opportunities with the show?
So there'll be two different advertising opportunities. One will be commercials. I haven't, that's available through the network Easy Way. I
Okay,
haven't,
so Easy Way has like built-in
yeah,
sort of if you want to be an advertiser, tell us what it is and what the show's.
yes, that's a
Okay.
possibility. I
Okay.
haven't
All right.
really explored that. Like in terms of like discussion, because I've been
Right.
just so focused on the author's part of it. And then there'll be like sponsorship packages that I'm going to put together that it can be as easy as the show is sponsored by Mark Leslie Books,
Right.
or it can scroll across the screen with your logos. So those are definitely some options available. I plan to hit up all the local breweries around us,
Well,
Martin.
that's a great idea. Yeah.
Yeah, the book bar in Toronto. I'm super excited about
Well,
that.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, the Book Bar in Toronto
Yeah.
sounds like a magical place for you to interview people in.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
because
Maybe
then they're
I'll
a
open my
sponsor
own
because they
book
give you the
bar one
space,
day.
right?
Pardon me?
They're a sponsor because they give you the space to do it in.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That well, and that's it. And that's kind of how
Yeah.
sponsorship works. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Cool. So, I guess that it's hard enough to write a book. As you mentioned,
Yeah.
1% of people. Everyone says they want to write a book, and most people will never do it. So, you're already part of the 1% if you've written a book, and then you've published a book, right?
Yeah.
And you did it by learning how to do it yourself. And then on top of it, you start this television program. I mean, does Melissa ever sleep?
I just had Denner from Australia, who's a best-selling author, and she's also executive producer, ask me the same question. It's definitely been trying, and it all has to work around strategy and balance. I'm a Libra through and through, so I need balance. And when it's out of balance for me, I feel that, and I just kind of readjust. But yeah, I sleep, just not as much as I used to.
What was maybe one or two of the things that surprised you, either in the process of writing the book, putting the book of poetry together. And you had mentioned also you've got a children's book in the works with a publisher or something like that that's coming out soon.
Yeah.
Anything surprising about the writing that you hadn't expected when you first got into it?
From the technical side, like the self-publishing side and getting that all on Kindle and Ingram Spark and everywhere you need to be, that just threw me. I couldn't even process how difficult that was. And I don't know if I ever want to do it again. It's just like, nope.
Is that how is the children's book? You had mentioned that you're getting edits back or something. You mentioned that previously, just briefly before we started recording.
Yeah, so I have a kids series coming out, and I actually already published the book. I'll bring this to you.
Okay.
I don't know how you'll feel about it, but I did what I did for a reason. So it's actually already published,
Okay.
and all the words in the book are mine, but I can't draw. And so I naively used AI to generate the issues, not really fully being very new to AI. I mean, I'm talking so
Yeah.
new to utilizing it as a tool. So I did that, not realizing the controversy around it, but I did it because I couldn't draw, and my original concept from 10 years ago was gone. And I did a quick pivot, and again, it was a download. It was like, okay, now you need to do this now. And so I had to adjust, and I didn't want the concept of it because it's so beautiful to be gone again. And it's so good. When I was away this weekend, it's about crystals and gemstones and emotional healing power and different realms and stuff.
Right.
I was at a crystal store a couple hours away, and they're like, as soon as that's ready to go, she's like, I love it with the AI. I'm like, no, no, we're going to do it the right way because, Indigo's interested in the child's book, but they can't do it because of the AI. She's
Right.
like, bring it up and I'll consign it and we'll do a book launch here. And yeah, so
Oh,
that's
that's cool. So you've taken that back to the drawing board, as it
back
were,
to the drawing board, no pen.
with real drawings. Yeah, there we go.
With drawings. Yeah.
Cool. How did so is it finding an artist or whatever? There must have been a whole process in and of itself.
Oh, it's a process. All right. I reached out to the person that did my first book cover because it's so beautiful and it
Yeah.
feels alive when you look at it. And she's an incredible talent. Her name's Moko Heather. She's my ex-sister-in-law. And I said, are you interested in joining forces? And she's so bombarded. And I reached out to a couple other authors or artists, and everybody's just so bombarded with their own work and putting their love and light out in the world. So I'm doing hybrid publishing, and I was very hesitant on hybrid because there's either good or bad with it. And I just decided to do it. So they're illustrators illustrating it, but I get final say. They send me frames every day and yes, no, add this, move this.
Well,
Kind of
you had to
cool.
make the choice of either trying to find someone yourself or basically paying somebody who has the expertise or the
That's
or
right.
the or the slate of artists or the slate of editorial or
Yeah,
all the things involved, right? And it's a time issue. It's like I don't have time to do all this, so
legit.
I'm gonna collaborate with this company and have it done that way. But
Yeah.
hopefully the rights are yours and you can
Yes,
still
they
do
are.
what you want with it. So it's not like they tricked you into something
No, they didn't.
you knowingly knew what you were doing. And I think that's a good lesson for writers, is you
Yes.
didn't just go, "Oh, here's this magic solution that's going to solve all my problems." You came into it with a realistic look, right?
Yeah, yeah. I've learned early on in the writing experience, you vet people. I
Yeah.
even vetted my network for 6 months before I was like,
Yeah.
because I was like, oh, that's kind of interesting. Um, yeah, I embedded them and I vet. And what's good about it is that once it's ready, they will take it all and upload it to all the platforms and
Right.
globally distribute it so I can be hands off because that is really the most hair pulling part of it. I don't know if I ever want to do it again.
So in terms of that's a bit of your writing and authorship experience and the various pain points that you've encountered.
Mhm.
What about so when people hear is like, oh, Melissa's a producer and host of a TV show, and that must be all glamour all the time, right? I mean, right?
It should be, but I've decided that I'm gonna keep it real and I'm not glamorous all the time. I'm just human and spiritual and just want to put love and light out in the world. So there's pieces to it where, yeah, you got to put that game face on and be that, but that's not who I am. And like even with some of the marketing, I'm like going through my own life storms right now. That's one of the book names that's coming on the show. And I'm like, yeah, I'm up here decompressing, trying to re-strategize in my own life storm. But here's this incredible book that's helping me through it. So
Oh, cool. I love that personal aspect of
yeah,
you, the impact of the book on you when as you're
yeah,
talking to the guests. It's not just this thing came across my desk and I kind of have to read a brief on it and then interview the
yeah.
author. This is more of a of an in-depth engagement, right?
Yeah, I actually read all the authors' books that are coming on to the show and I make Mel's margins because I want their interview to be as
Right.
grand as this one and that experience for them. And I want to position them as a thought leader. They have
Yeah.
a message that can help you in some sort of capacity. If one person takes away something, I hold true to the show as I do my authorship. If one person can take away something that helps them heal or realize something about themselves, then I've done my job. And that's all I
Cool.
want.
So what's the process that you use to find the right guests? Is it you're out in the world experiencing things, you find a book and you read it and go, "Whoa, I need to talk to this author." Like how does that process work?
So there's been a few times. In the women's network, there's a lot of authors. They support authors a lot. I mean, so much so the women's channel and the book crawl are joining forces to build this summit. So I started there because,
Okay.
you're new to something. So I started with my security and then I eventually branched out. I don't object to any book. I may relate to other books, spiritual, self-help better, but I will always find meaning in your book, even if I don't connect to it. But I've noticed lately with the last author coming on the show, her reel of how she was making herself visible for her book tour, it really stood out to me because I knew how she posted it. She understood, okay, I got to get visible as an author. So I just reached out to her on social media and
Oh,
we
cool.
connected. I'm like, I'm a real human. I would love to have a meeting with you and tell you what I have to offer. And so we did, and she's been fantastic because we like play off each other, and I'm like, oh, so you're helping me alleviate a little bit of the pressures here. Thank you.
Awesome. Now you'd mentioned the forthcoming summit is going to be happening just a few days after we are recording this interview. It will, of
Yeah.
course, by the time this interview goes live, it will already have happened. But can you tell my listeners a little bit about this summit, and will
Yeah.
people be able to access it after the fact if they're hearing
Yes.
about it afterwards?
Yes, they will be able to access it after the fact. It's called the Authors and Book Lovers Visibility Forum, and it is a televised summit for authors, industry professionals. There are celebrity authors such as yourself coming on to the summit, and it's meant to give visibility, but it's also televised. It will be televised under the Women's Channel this go around, and yeah, it's going to be grand. If you're a
Awesome.
book lover, this is where you want to be because
So how can
registration is free.
people find that? And obviously, the Women's Network or the Women's Channel, and obviously your forthcoming show. What are some of the links that people can go to check that out?
There's easywaytv.com, and then you would look for the women's channel because the women's channel is all Deb Drummond's summits and then soon to be the author summit as well. So it'll take about 6 to 8 weeks to get that all uploaded after the summit that happens on June 25th, and you can go there. I can also send you the women's channel link directly to it. I think it's the women's channel TV.com or something. I'm not 100% sure off the top, but yeah, easywaytv.com. You can search the women's channel and it will be there in about 6 weeks.
Awesome. And there will be links to that in the show notes at starkreflections.ca.
Yeah, cool. Thank you.
So, Heather, where can people find you and learn more about you and your books and everything you do online?
Well, my website's www.soulsecrets.ca. So a lot of my books are there and a little bit about the book crawl landing page there. And then I'm also on all social medias platforms. Melissa Heathers on Facebook. And the book crawl is also new to Facebook as a business page. And then on Instagram, it's a little different. It's a B named Zoe13, but I think if you type Melissa Heathers, that will come up. And then there's also a book crawl page there. And finally, YouTube, where a lot of it will be distributed. I'm trying to build my platform there. It's the book crawl with Melissa Heathers.
Awesome. Awesome. So as we're wrapping up, what's some advice you would offer to an author who's out there in the place where you were just a few years ago with this idea and it wouldn't let go and you needed to write that book? Like what's some advice you would love to offer? Let me just trip over my own tongue here. That you'd like to offer to another author who may be in that position that you were once in.
So a phrase that I've coined is called "Every story is worth savoring," and is very, very true. And if your story can help one person or evolve one person or give joy to one person, then it's definitely worth pushing through the trials and the tribulations. It's not easy to be an author, to be vulnerable, but vulnerability and stories connect people, and it's needed in the world. So
awesome. Straight from your lips to my heart, to the hearts of
perfect.
my listeners. Thank you so much for your time, Melissa.
Thank you for having me, Mark. I'm honored.
I wanted to reflect on something that Melissa said early on in our conversation, and it really stuck with me. And it's when she mentioned the teacher, I think it was a history teacher, who recognized her talent, recognized her creativity. And I want to reflect on why that's so valuable, why that recognition by a teacher or a mentor figure can be so very powerful. I'm very fortunate and very lucky that I have had so many phenomenal teachers over the years, even teachers of subjects that I was not passionate about, but the teacher themselves was passionate about, which kind of leads me to a little bit of a tangential discussion. But in a meeting I was in earlier this week with the Wide for the Win board, the board of Wide for the Win, Bradley Charbonneau had talked about how recognizing when somebody is so passionate about something, and even if it's something you know nothing about or not a fan of or whatever, but you know it's not a thing you ever thought of, something you could be passionate about. There's something compelling, there's something attractive, there's something that draws him to the passion that exudes from people. So this aside is a reflection to think about those things that you really love, you're really passionate about. Like there are things beyond writing and publishing that I'm very passionate about. I'm passionate about horror, scary stories. I'm passionate about craft beer. I'm a big beer nerd. I'm passionate about Rush. Things you probably picked up if you've been a long time listener to the show. Yeah, I'm passionate about, skulls and skeletons and stuff like that. And I do share the things that I'm passionate about, even if they don't have anything to do with my writing. And it's a long-term branding in a way, but it's also a long-term thing because when somebody sees a skeleton or something about craft beer, just this week alone, someone was tagged skeleton, tagged me, shared, hey Mark, I saw this skeleton in the back of a pickup truck and I thought of you. I had somebody else from the industry tag me, because it was like, tag someone who, would wear these beer socks. So it was, yeah, Mark. And then even another one, another fellow author who was in a brewery that we had been in together in Vegas, and tagged myself and Kevin Anderson, saying, hey, guess where I am? So when somebody sees something that's in the realm of something that you're very passionate about, they're thinking about you. And that, again, it's not sales, it's not marketing, but it is part of when somebody thinks of you. And so that's that passion. So that's my aside on passion, and why sharing passion can be so important, because other people can be inspired by it. And I do remember there was somebody who I had a very brief relationship with a long time ago when I was in my early 20s. And I remember her talking about when I was in the throes of writing, because I just graduated from university and I really wanted desperately to write. So every morning before, because I worked part-time jobs that took a lot of evenings and weekends, so I get up super early every morning and I would work on my writing, make sure I was constantly sending stories out and printing them off and mailing, and getting rejected. This was back in the early days, right? I wasn't on a typewriter, I was on a computer, but my dot matrix printer. And I remember it was a weird catch-22, because when I was in the throes of writing, she was very attracted to me because I was passionate about something. And then when I got distracted by her beauty and wanting to spend time with her, I wasn't as attractive. So it was this weird catch-22. But anyways, it just reminds me of how you can be attracted to someone just because they're passionate about something. So that's a really long aside. Let's get back to the original reflection. Woo! Follow me! Keep up! Back to the original reflection was the teachers. And I've had so many great teachers who you could tell they were passionate about things, but they also admired the passion I had in certain things. And they helped me in my creativity, in my writing. And they were there. They recognized the things that I was really passionate about. And it's just a shout out and a thank you to all those amazing teachers that I've had over the years. And I continue to have teachers who continue to be passionate about things and to teach me things, and I can learn from. I talked about that earlier in the opening of the podcast about continually learning, and that's an important aspect. But where I want to go with this was you and the people that you encounter in the industry. You probably know something really cool. You probably know something really well. And there's probably opportunities for you to share those things that you know and things that you're passionate about and things that you have experience with other people, whether it's writing related or not. Your willingness to spend the time to show them stuff and your passion for that can potentially be that recognition that they needed, that you gave them. Now, ideally, within the writing community, maybe it's a fellow writer that you help with something, or you recognize something about them, or you spend some time and you nurture them. It can be a really small bit of your time. It can be a really small thing that you do, but you can, like those impactful teachers that have made a positive difference that we can reflect on 30, 40 years later and say, wow, I still remember the impact they had on me. You might be able to have that impact on someone else, and think about how beautiful and how powerful that can be, particularly in a world that's so divisive, so divided, and there's so much anxiety and pain. What can you do to be that positive thing in somebody else's life? What can you do to be that teacher that recognizes a talented person like Melissa, and to give them that little bit that can help make their day, potentially their creative life, that much better? Well, that's it for this reflection. That is it for this episode. Thank you so much for listening. A huge thank you and shout out to my patrons who support this podcast over at patreon.com/starkreflections. And those who support my Stark Reflections on Writing and Publishing on Substack, appreciate that as well. And those coffee buddies at buymeacoffee.com/Mark Leslie. There is something special for my patrons that I shared. It was something I've talked about a lot, that I've teased out a lot recently, and about an accomplishment I've recently achieved as a writer, a sort of a milestone for me, a big deal. At least to me, it's a huge deal. And I wanted to share that, so I thought I would share it first in intimate detail with my patrons. It's about a half hour of me talking about this experience and how impactful it was on me and how it was something that happened to me at just the right time when I really desperately needed the boost because I was in a really dark place. But anyways, that's in the podcast feed already. So if you are a patron, it should be in your audio feed already. And if you're having trouble accessing the audio feed for patrons, let me know. Other than that, a huge thank you to all my listeners, of course. Thank you so much for listening. Ways you can support the podcast that are non-monetary. Non-monetary? Whatever. I'm not going to cut that. I'll just go with it. Is you can leave a review wherever you listen to podcasts. That does help. Thank you for those who have left reviews. Or you can also share this episode or any episode of the podcast that you found value in with someone that you think would find value in it. That's a way you can pay it forward to someone else that they can have something really awesome, like this interview with Melissa, or and you can feel good about that. They can benefit. I benefit from it. We all win. We all benefit. Woo! And the world is a better place. But thank you again so much for listening. Until next week, and until next episode, this is, as always, Mark Leslie Lefebvre wishing you great writing and good Stark reflections.
Thank you for listening to the Stark Reflections podcast. You can find show notes for each episode at starkreflections.ca.
The music for this podcast, Laser Groove, was composed and produced by Kevin MacLeod. Check out more of Kevin's great music at incomptech.com.